Welcome to the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast, where we talk with martial arts practitioners about their histories and the influence that their practice of martial arts has on their lives. You are listening to the free version of this podcast, which is abbreviated. Help support this program by considering to subscribe to us on Patreon, where you will get 4 full-length podcasts each month, 1 week before the YouTube release date. The cost is that of about 1 coffee shop coffee per month. Go to www.patreon.com/malmag to subscribe. That is www.patreon.com/malmag. If you would like to purchase single full-length episodes of the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast, visit our Gumroad page at malmag.gumroad.com, and that is malmag.gumroad.com. This week I get on Zoom and talk to the United Kingdom again, and I speak with talented martial artist Terry Valler. Terry talks about his work as a doorman, his daily routines in training martial arts, and building bridges between the Jeet Kune Do camps. Sit back and enjoy. Welcome to the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast, and today I'm connecting through Zoom over to the United Kingdom again and talking with one of the many really excellent martial artists that are from over in the United Kingdom. It's kind of a really interesting place, through my travels anyway, of meeting a lot of very skilled martial art people from all kinds of different martial arts, and obviously I'm more involved in the JKD and Kali world, and this is an individual who is absolutely involved in that world and someone I've encountered online a bit, and I want to get to know a little bit more. So welcome Terry Valler to the program.
Thank you very much. I can appreciate you inviting me on. I'm honored.
Absolutely. So Terry, one of the first things I have to ask you is the infamous JKD dialogues and Dwight's shows anyway. There's always a big battle of who's first between you, Mark Black, and Mick Tully. What is that all about?
Yeah. Well, I blame Mick for that. He started that, maybe because I don't have a life, so normally I'm just the first on. And then, I think he was like, him and then Mark, try and.
So you're saying
first.
Mick's the troublemaker? Who would ever think that?
I know, shocking, isn't it?
Mick. Anyway, we give you a big shout out. Mark, I need to get on the show. I've known Mark a long time. He's been involved in the Leo Hartzell organization as well as Guru Dan's organization as well. So I've known him a bit, and definitely should get. Actually, no, I should get the 3 of you guys on there, and we can just kind of have these race games or something. I don't know. See who's first with trivia. I don't know, something like that. Could be fun.
Oh no.
All right. Well, Terry, where are you located in London, or where are you at in the UK?
Just south of London. It's just kind of between Surrey and a place called Surrey and Berkshire. It's kind of Berkshire. Sorry, it's just south of London really. So it's not too, it doesn't rain too much, not like the north, but it's all right.
Yeah, I've got a little bit of experience. I got an old college buddy that's from Manchester, so I do know how much it rains up there. I've been to visit him a couple of times, and fortunately, London's always been very cooperative and nice to me when I visited. It's not been raining.
Right, yeah.
Manchester okay. Says, nope, I'm going to rain on you all the time. And my buddy said, yeah, it rains here all but 8 days of the year. I thought, good God. Like, how do you guys not want to just jump off a cliff? He goes, well, we do have a high suicide rate. I'm like, I can't imagine why. It's a little
right
slum, but when it's not, it's like green and pretty, but I enjoyed it.
Yes, it's all right.
Well, Terry, how do you own I thought you had a school, but judging from the last conversation you had with Kurt and Raul, that you have a training group more than a school.
I don't even have that really. I taught full time at 2009 to 2012, and then after I got recruited into security, and I just ended up doing I started doing doors and stuff, and then I shut my class down because I changed of venue, and then eventually I started working for Disney and Lucasfilms and stuff. So my schedule got immensely busy, and then teaching was not happening. Training was when I with different people on stuntmen and stuff or whatnot, or other security people. So yeah, I've not taught properly since about 2014, I think.
Wow.
And now it's just a couple of people I train with. But I do jiu-jitsu, no gi, wrestling, Thai boxing probably 4 or 5 times a week.
Wow. And this is, do you still do security work for Lucasfilms and Disney?
No, at the moment, because it was killing my training time, if I'm honest with you. And my other half, she was hating it because I was away 6 days a week. So 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day, because when they were filming. So I'm a security manager now down the road, so it allows me to train a bit more and doesn't get me in trouble so much. So
yeah, well, yeah, especially with the wife. That's the worst one to get in trouble with. You know, we know all kinds of different martial arts, but wife fu is like the most deadly martial art of all.
It is. It definitely is.
Well, that's pretty cool. So the interesting thing is, so your line of work then kind of allows for a real world sort of approach to the martial arts that you're doing. You have to kind of have stuff that's going to work for your particular situation. Like,
yeah, I mean, now, I mean, I did a lot of door work. So it was always, I used to like to test. I used to have something called technique of the week. So I used to like to have something that I learned, and then try on different doors and different clubs and different pubs and see what the environment it worked in, what kind of people it worked on. Yeah, sometimes it went really well. Sometimes adjustments had to be made. But yeah, it was definitely an interesting time in terms of testing things.
now that's interesting. So, the interesting thing about you when I see you on group discussions and stuff is you're reserved, and it's kind of like now that I learned a little bit more about what you do, I'm thinking Terry's one of those guys that people need to listen to a little bit more because he's got, when he says something works. There's certain guys like I know like Chris Brown, for instance. I've known him a long time. Was one of Larry's guys.
Yes.
And a lot of you guys, especially from the UK, tend to kind of have the security background to you. And there's guys even here in the States that I tend to listen to a bit more that are kind of having to step up and put these things to use in everyday situations. And is it hard to get people speaking with you that are just kind of dismissing what you have to say?
In terms of on the JKD,
yeah, things? Like on any, especially when it comes to like online stuff. And again, this is not something I want to really dig into with you so much, but it sounds like an interesting little question to ask you with the kind of experience that you have.
A lot of people I find online would probably do a lot of like technique stuff in the classes, whether they can actually go on. So they do a little bit, more technical. I think some of them, some people are sort of theory martial artists versus realistic martial artists. Always fine, but the choice of people got their opinion, not going to change it, and I don't mind listening to other people and go, well, so yeah, whether they listen or not, it doesn't really bother me, if I'm honest with you.
You seem like that, a very cool, calm, collected person, which I think is probably perfect for the line of work you do.
Yeah, definitely
a lot of nonsense, right?
But yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. One of my private clients, who's a physical therapist, but he's a big guy like me, so he's easily 6'4", like I am, which is about I think 193 centimeters in metric, if that's how you measure, and then about 260 pounds, which is what's that, about half of that in kilos, I guess, 100 plus kilos. And so he was saying, "Man, you'd make a good doorman." I'm thinking, I'm sure I'd be a physical presence. Yes. I think I've got a calm enough demeanor to do that line of work as well too, because I'm not quick to temper. I mean, it might appear different online, and that's because some folks have pushed a lot of buttons for a long time. But and or if you give what you get kind of thing. I probably wouldn't when it deals with clientele in a bar. These are people just getting a little liquored up, and you're like, okay. You're getting mouthy, get it, it is what it is. So Terry, tell us how you got started in martial arts.
So originally when I was like really young. My dad did karate, so I kind of did it because of that. But then when I was 16, I kind of had I don't know, I wasn't kind of shy, and didn't really go out, and I wanted to get a bit of confidence, so I started doing kung fu. Did that for 5 years and taught it and stuff. But after about a year, I thought I love this stuff, so I did that. And then about 97, 98, I brought Rick Young down for a seminar because I like Bruce Lee. I was interested in Bruce and Brandon, and just trained with Neil McLeod privately, Bob Breen at his place in Dartford, Rick Young, Ralph Jones, anybody really. And then Guru or Sifu Asante was coming over twice a year, so I was doing his seminars twice a year, one in Edinburgh, one in London for about 10 years, I think, before he stopped coming over.
Wow. That's a pretty good who's list right there that you mentioned.
When obviously Bruce Lee was the first person, right? So everyone kind of, that's what draws you in. I want to do Jeet Kune Do because of Bruce Lee. But then I started watching Rapid Fire, and I thought, what a great film. And that's a really good JKD film. There's Ties, Silat, the Pinchoy Guachoy series is in there. The Ford's in there, isn't it? In that scene with the fire at the end. And obviously the Crow. But I thought, just generally the first two of the two Chinese films that Brandon did, it's kind of, I thought, well, he's kind of the newer one on the market, if you want. And I thought, and he was the Bruce Lee son, so it kind of drew me into that.
Oh yeah, I mean, Rapid Fire. That's something I was just getting into JKD at that time too, and
right.
I tend to say, I think probably you feel the same way. As like, if you really want to kind of see what the people from the Inosanto lineage are kind of looking to do with the idea of, okay, we're studying these different things, that's it. I think right there, what you see in those fight sequences is it kind of exactly what we would consider a good example of the flow between these different arts, and it's, they're not different arts at that point. They're one thing. They're one guy's expression. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like really just beautiful example of that.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's really interesting to think. I hadn't really even thought of that, like a whole generation of people or a movement of people into the arts that were, say, almost more inspired by Brandon than Bruce. That's really interesting. I never thought about that, but I could see how that would happen.
Yeah, because he was on, his films were coming out. I mean, I remember there's a place called Woolworths that is dead, it's gone now, and it had the one with Bala Young in it, and the Brandon film with, and I was like, it cost like 20 quid to get it. I mean, it's expensive even then, but it was like, I'm having that, and you watch it for, he just moves well. He's doing all this stuff, and then Rapid Fire was like, that's what I thought. That's JKD, isn't it? So I was like, yeah. So kind of because he's the one making movies, you're kind of following him because he's fresh in essence. Whereas, you've watched the Bruce Lee films for years, right?
Absolutely. And I think there was a lot of hope and a lot of excitement at that time with that as well. You said, okay, this guy's on the cusp of really being something big. I think probably in both worlds, not only as a film guy and as a martial art guy. And it really did seem like, especially with where he started going with the Crow, was he kind of wanted to separate that a little bit as well, which is fun. And there was a really interesting thing. There was a group, I should see if I still have a contact for him, I'm pretty sure I do, that was doing a documentary film on Brandon. I think it was one of his friends. And very, very interesting guy, very interesting approach. And it was all about Brandon as a person. So, all the other stuff that you kind of know, all this stuff around the death and all that, he wasn't overly getting big into that, but more kind of showing the person who Brandon was. And Brandon seemed to have this very like two sections of his life. He had martial art people, and then he had these film people. And many of them, both close to him, had never met each other. and then you had a few people that crossed over those things. Some, like Tsuyoshi Abe or Jeff Imada. Those people kind of crossed over, obviously, into both. But that was really fascinating to kind of learn because he'd come down and he interviewed Jeff, Tsuyoshi, and Guru Dan for this piece.
Okay.
And hopefully, it's coming out very soon. I know they were trying to wrap up a bunch of interviews and stuff, but it seemed like it's going to be just a really, really wonderful documentary. And I think it's something sounds like you would really enjoy for sure.
Yeah, I love it. That'd be cool. I was thinking another really good JKD thing was. Do you remember Big Stan with?
Heck yeah!
Yeah, I was like, yeah, it was. I was like, there you go, brilliant. Because Yosho was in the final scene, wasn't he? And obviously Guru was in there as well.
Right.
Like, yeah, what a great film.
Yeah, it's really
Dan's
fun.
T-shirt wasn't there.
I was down there when they filmed that. So that the martial arts school scenes where he's trying to learn martial arts, and there's like a little guy up and stuff. That's actually the academy.
Awesome. Brilliant.
Yeah, it's the Sanzo Academy where they film that. And then the little guy that's like kicking Rob's ass is Richard Kwan. And Richard was like big movie industry guy, and then also an instructor down at the academy. Really awesome guy. And I'm glad we're bringing him up because I should get him on here, but because he's really, really kind of a cool guy. And then like Nino Pila, Nino, of course.
Yes.
So Nino was like the double in the fight scene that you see him with Guru. So
okay.
Yeah, he was the double for Rob. So like anytime you see the back of Rob, it's actually Nino. It's really pretty interesting. Nino broke that whole scene down for me once, and it was really pretty funny. And there are so many, like at that time, active academy stunt people that are all over those like prison scenes and everything. It's really a funny who's who of a film to watch for anybody from the academy. It's really pretty fun.
Awesome. Yeah, it's wicked. It's great.
Yeah. I mean, as far as like the type of goofy characters that Rob Schneider plays and that stuff, he actually really put in a lot of work in the training aspect to be able to do that film. So, it was actually kind of one of those things you're like, wow, you're not just kind of showing up and doing a few things so you can kind of look good on camera. He was actually putting in quite a bit of time with the training. So
awesome.
that was pretty interesting. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, yeah. Great film.
Well, that's awesome. So you went from what kind of kung fu was available for you? So you studied karate initially, and then you said you studied kung fu. What was available for you there?
Well, so I did two. So predominantly, the first one was like mixed. It was so it was Northern Mantis, Cha-Chan, and what was the other one? And Mantis, Cha-Chan was probably main two, and Pigua, Bagua were the main ones. And then on separately to that, I still do it now. Was Wing Chun.
Oh wow! And what time period was this? Was this like the late 1980s, early 1990s?
96. So I was 16, and so 96 to 2000, I did that.
Wow.
Maybe 2001, but probably about 2000 when I kind of stopped it full time.
That's interesting because it's interesting because I know a lot of the folks from the UK I talked to were able to get exposure to a lot of these Chinese arts a lot earlier than we were, say, in the United States. We had it like some folks back probably in the 80s when I started and into the 90s. But then I'm sitting there thinking, well, of course, you had Hong Kong was a British territory for a long time.
Yeah.
So of course, you had probably a lot more knowledgeable immigration into the UK than we necessarily had into the US.
Yeah.
So you certainly had more of these exotic, what we maybe consider exotic Chinese styles available to you guys.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there was 4 or 5 places I can think of. There was we had one where we were in Guildford and Surrey. Then we had one in Southampton. Then obviously central London, Chinatown, London had 4 or 5 really good schools.
That's pretty cool. That is really cool. And what kind of karate did you do before that?
Waterloo.
Waterloo.
Mm.
And
It was all right. Did that for a couple of years.
that's pretty cool. So who was your first JKD instructor that you worked with? Was it Rick?
Rick was the first one I brought down for a seminar.
Oh,
And then it was Neil McLeod, who I did train privately with for a number of years, along with and in with the Bob Breen Academy in Dartford.
uh-huh.
So that was so Rick was kind of the start point, and then I think that's when I first met Guru Dan. Was that year as well, and then it's funny because it was every year, so it was almost like a get together for all the UK people.
Right.
We meet up twice a year, and it's now that Sifa doesn't come over anymore. Them yearly meetups or quarterly every 6 months that don't happen anymore. Because it was good. It was everyone now go out, catch up, and see how everyone's doing after every year, and it was good. It was. The seminars were fantastic, and such a buzz, coming out of them. But but also you had this, Friday night, Saturday night, go out for a meal, have a drink with so many different people you haven't seen and talk about training and martial arts and stuff. Them seminars were great on many levels, to be fair.
Yeah, I remember I wandered into one in the summer of 2008.
Right.
I remember because I was taking a trip over to London at the time, actually, and
Okay.
coincided with Guru being there, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, let me see where this is at, and I happened to wander by Bob's school because it was actually not far from where I was staying, and they're like, oh yeah, it's at this
Okay.
gymnasium, huge gymnasium. So I'm like, oh, great. So I hop on. It was only like 3 train stops away or whatever. So I hop on the train and walked over, found it. And I'm like, wow, this is giant, and there was hundreds of people in there. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when one in Dartford, we did one in Dartford, and had to have 2 floors of people for the seminar.
Right. Wow.
It was awesome. Yeah.
Well, that's
crazy.
Cool. Does so there's a lot of people kind of all over UK that are obviously studying with under the Guru Dan thing. Do you feel that group in the UK is a lot more? Do you guys feel like more bonded than, say, rivals to each other?
Yeah, I don't think there's any rivalry. I think it's so far, as small island as we are, there isn't really. No one. I mean, maybe more so now, but especially 5-6 years ago, they're so far apart that there's no rivalry at all.
And this concludes the abbreviated version of the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast. Please click the like and subscribe buttons as well as the notification bell. Also consider subscribing to the full-length podcast at www.patreon.com/malmag or purchasing individual full-length episodes at malmag.gumroad.com. Thank you for listening to this episode with Terry Valler. Coming up next week, I take a step back into Hollywood and talk to an actress and stuntwoman, Ava Blackwell. Check out the Malmag store at www.martialartslifestylemagazine.com and click on the store tab. There, you will find a full selection of Timmy B's brand sticks for FMA and Krabi Krabong, as well as Timmy B's and Dos Manos t-shirts. Many more products coming soon. Also click on our courses tab to purchase online courses, right now featuring a course in the Dos Manos stick of FMA. More courses to come. This show is produced by Martial Arts Lifestyle Magazine. Visit us at www.martialartslifestylemagazine.com and enjoy the free version of our online magazine with articles, a recommended schools page, and a worldwide events calendar. Music by Jack Al Relic. Martial Arts Lifestyle Magazine and the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast are trademarked and copyrighted by TNT LLC.